Okay, so I'm going to talk about Engaged, apparently. This is another audiobook, listen, and I will say, if I think I saw the cover in a bigger size first, I don't think I would have read it. I know, I just really dislike the cover. So it's called Engaged, apparently, by Amy Andrews. Jesus. Yeah, I don't know, just something about, like, the drawn picture and then, like, the stock photo people on the front. I don't know, I don't like it. But the story was quite cute. So, yeah. And I think it's definitely a romance, but no, it's more of a general fiction book, I reckon. Because the romance was almost a back burner, but not really. Being a little way it was. Oh, God. Yeah, the romance was a little bit of a back burner. Sorry, I should have adjusted myself before I hit record. But yeah, so Amy Andrews, I'm going to say Amy Adams 5 times, aren't I? Is an Australian author, so it's an Australian book. It's set in a small town, said to be an hour out of Geelong, I think, or like in the Western Victoria, not very far out. Apparently it was based off of Warrnambool. In my mind, I was thinking of, there's another small town called Colac. That's what I was more thinking of when I read this book. And probably shouldn't, I don't know, doesn't matter. I grew up in Geelong, and so that is quite close to where, like, this would be set. So some of the things, some of my little gripes with it are very specific to the region, but also they just, like, kind of took me out. I think especially when reading a book, and if you're trying to make it, like, accurate to an area that's also made up, then, like, just little things, if you don't get it right, then it'll take you out. And I think Amy Andrews is from Sydney and probably more NRL based, but, like, doesn't have, like, the integral, yeah, anyway, a lot of it's dumb, just so you know. But basically, they grow up in this community. I don't really know the ethnicity of Sweeney, but we're following Finn and Sweeney, who are childhood best friends, but really it's actually, they are childhood best friends, like, they were best friends, but really their mums are best friends, like, absolutely best friends, and, so then by product, Finn and Sweeney are best friends. And so their mums, like, still live in their small rural town that is not conservative, but just generally a little bit more conservative than a bigger city. Not anywhere, like, not in any way to really write home about, or, like, the topics aren't touched on in this book. That is just obviously a nice, fun, almost beach read, I would say. But yeah, like, they're, like, a little bit more conservative in terms of, like, Finn and Sweeney aren't married, and why aren't they married? Why don't they have grandkids yet when everyone else who has stayed in the town has kids and all their friends have grandkids, and, like, in reality they don't really care, but there's just, like, you know, like, when you talk to people and then you're like, oh, like, why don't I have this, why don't I have that, and so they eventually, on their joint, is it 50th, 60th, what was that? Yeah. So their mums have a joint 60th birthday, obviously because they're best friends. And they, so the best friends are Ronnie and Connie. So they have rhyming names. Don't ask me which one's which. Anyway. But the mums have kind of been getting pressured by their friends of like, oh, why aren't Finn and Sweeney like getting married and whatnot? And like why don't they live at home or like in the town? Like they both like live overseas. Like Finn lives in Dublin, Sweeney's primarily based in New York. And then they eventually make up a lie that Finn and Sweeney are actually engaged. And so the lie was, obviously Finn and Sweeney weren't meant to know about the lie, but on their 60th birthday, as one probably would, they decide to surprise their mums by flying in for the party. And so their mums have just made this grand announcement about their kids being engaged, and then the kids walk in together and they're like, oh my god, we're really fucked up. Even though they kind of, I don't know, the way, like, the characterization of the mums is just slightly odd, but I don't think she really knew how she wanted them to react after the fact. But yeah, it's like they know they've kind of made a mistake, but they don't really know how to back out of it. And I don't know, in a way I kind of felt like that. I kind of got understood why their mums would lie. Because if you think about it, if your kids are overseas, they won't have to hear about it. Like, they did not think their kids were going to come home for their birthday. Like, they probably thought they might see them at Christmas, and then by that point they could tell the town that they've broken up, and, like, that would be a couple of months away. So, like, it wasn't a lie that was going to hurt anyone. And, like, the friends were pressuring them. So, I feel like I kind of, like, she set the scene well, basically, for you to understand why they would lie. But, yeah, so then Finn and Sweeney are planning to stay with their family, with the mums, for a month. And so the mums ask them to pretend to be engaged for that month while they're there. And so that's kind of how they get the name Engaged, apparently, because they walk in and then they're apparently engaged. And so, yeah, so Finn and Sweeney, like I kind of mentioned, have both grown up, moved out, and moved overseas. Well, they first moved to the big city and then they moved away. But they both also kind of tragically lost their fathers. Sweeney lost her dad when she was a child, so in primary school, I think. When she was a child. Oh, actually, yeah, just before high school, like 10, maybe 11, actually even younger, maybe. And then Finn lost his about 5 years ago. And so I think almost because of that, Finn only moved out about 5 years ago. Like, he kind of moved overseas then to Ireland. And then Sweeney kind of left home immediately and didn't really, she really didn't want to move back and, couldn't, imagine herself living there anymore. And so the book does a really good job of kind of helping them both to work through their different childhood traumas and almost reconnect in a way of Sweeney really helps Finn move through his childhood, through the trauma of losing his dad and kind of coming to terms with that, because he moved to Dublin to kind of find that connection, but then has just kind of floated and didn't really know what he was doing with his life. And on the day that his dad died, he they had an argument, and so it's kind of eaten up Finn that he couldn't ever reconnect with his dad, even though he now is thinking about it and is like, oh, like my dad's probably correct. Like his dad was like, you're just floating in life, you're not really doing anything with it, you should want more. And Finn didn't really believe that at the time. Like he was probably like 23 or something. And yeah, so they had this big argument, and that was the last thing they said to each other. But then it turns out there was a letter. But yeah, so like Sweeney kind of really can help Finn almost go through the stages of grief that she had to go through when she was obviously much younger. And then for Sweeney, hers is more, her mum really suffered, like really struggled with losing her dad, or yeah, losing her husband, and that really negatively affected Sweeney in terms of she felt like she almost lost both parents. Like she didn't really have a parental figure for some years, and Finn didn't really, I mean, kind of as a kid would, like wasn't really too aware that like his parents were kind of helping her out a little bit. Like they were making sure that she had food and had a place and gave her things that he kind of would have seen as just like normal, but they were doing that because they knew that her mum was struggling and wasn't really able to look after her as well as she should have been. Yeah. And so, but that has meant that Sweeney's kind of resented her mum and they haven't really ever reconciled in terms of her mum's now almost thriving and doing really well, and Sweeney kind of feels like she was a little robbed in a way. But yeah, so it kind of like them coming back meant that they had to talk and like discuss like their past and their grief and where they were in life, and they were both kind of in these stages where they were almost running away still. Like Sweeney would just move from job to job and move all over the world, but she couldn't ever settle in one place. She would never stay. And even in this book, like she was only meant to stay for a month, but then she gets delayed by volcanoes in Bali, which honestly, as a reason to like get grounded, great. Like, I mean, I kind of loved that. You knew at the start of the book, because I think it was like Sweeney was staying, or maybe they did just stay for a month, but Sweeney was like staying for like even less, like a week or something. And so you're like, oh, like I know that she'll get like stuck there at some point and it won't really, like normally you're like, oh, it's not going to be that realistic. But her being stuck because of like volcanoes in Bali erupting, and like the ash cover, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. And like, you know, that's gonna like go on for at least a couple of weeks. Yeah. But yeah, I think I really enjoyed that you had two people who were kind of at very different stages in their like grief of people who are obviously quite important in their lives, and how they could both help each other, but also you kind of saw two people reconnect, because even if so they were like childhood friends, they hadn't really kept that much in contact, or like they would text from here to there, and then like ever since Finn's dad died, like the separation just kind of got more and more and more as they aged. And so then it kind of made their romance like bloom a little bit, and like, oh, there was a little bit of immediate attraction in terms of like sudden attraction. Like they kind of started looking at each other differently when they had to pretend to be a couple and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, fair. But then I liked that they could also reconnect on like the personal level. So it didn't feel as superficial, if that makes sense. I think also like having the discussions like with parents. I feel like they are at an age like they're almost at that like awkward age of where you have to start talking about things with your parents in a different way, and like them seeing their kids as adults rather than children still, and but then also like still being a little lost and not knowing what they want to do. I feel like that was quite relatable. But yeah, I think it was like fun to like see like the surrounding. Sorry, I just read the word surrounding. Like see the like reconciliation with the parents and the mums, and yeah, a lot of it was about their grief over their fathers. Don't have them related. But yeah, so there's also that whole other subplot of Gaelic football. Very relatable. But basically, Finn's dad obviously comes from a big Irish family. Not obviously, but does. Come from big Irish family, and so he was really big in trying to bring Gaelic football to their community, and he, like, with him not being there, and Finn being around for, like, during the competition, I think something happened, like, the coach's daughter got injured or something, so then just couldn't really put in the time because they had to look after their kid, and I think take them to, like, the big hospital. So Finn started taking it over, and so that was in a way like part, like that kind of helped him with his grief, but it was kind of fun to like get, it was the way that you like saw the community and get all the different side characters, but also a way that like could also show Sweeney that she might be able to do something different. So Sweeney was purely almost a landscape photographer, like never really into people or like taking photos. But with the Gaelic football, they really needed funding and social media. So then she started taking photos of the kids playing Gaelic football. And that, yeah, kind of like showed her like, oh, maybe I can take, like, maybe I could have this as a different avenue so she didn't have to be travelling all the time. Because she was kind of getting a bit burnt out of always having to be on the move, and like maybe that's not what she wanted to do anymore. But yeah, and then for Finn as well, it was like he was a little lost in his, like he was just in like he was a finance bro basically, in a finance job, and so teaching, like coaching the kids, and like he got to like be like, hey, like maybe I want to be a teacher. Like it was kind of a way for them both to reevaluate their careers and where the direction that they want to take them, which I think in a way is like a good way to use a plot device, because it also meant that you had to have them acting as a couple in that situation, and you had to have them, like, you got to see them interact with different side characters. I really liked Donnie, Finn's cousin. I think that was great. And the nickname Feeny, which is Swin and Feeny. Finn and Sweeney got together as Feeny. I think that was fun. And then Winnie as well, the storyline with like the ASL, and yeah, like Winnie's not deaf, but she is mute and doesn't want to struggles to communicate, so then uses sign language. And so I think it was like a fun, like it was a nice like storyline that you could, yeah, introduce and like Finn, yeah. Anyway, I think, yeah, it was kind of, I think I really enjoyed that. As much of the book was about the romance and about their grief, it was also about like them finding themselves and reconnecting with who they are, and like instead of trying to almost run away from the people and the like hometown that they grew up in. Yeah, my main negative is the ending. It did just like a classic K-drama. Classic K-drama. So they basically separate for 3 months probably. But they're both in Europe. They both know they're in Europe. And then they just don't visit each other. And I don't know, it just like didn't feel like something that they would do. Like you knew they were gonna have to have some separation at the end, just because they both had to kind of get their life in order and also really decide and think about what they wanted to do. But it did kind of feel like one of them would like bite the bullet and talk to the other one. Like they didn't text at all, which isn't that weird because they hadn't been before. But then, what was it? Finn didn't tell Sweeney that he was moving back to Australia. Like she found out about it through her mum. And I don't know, it just kind of felt like that wouldn't be something that would happen. Like, felt like he would tell her. Even though like his reason was like okay. And then, yeah, I think it was more just like, it's just very like K-drama, like very like forced separation just to have like them reconnecting right at the very end, which, I don't know, it just like didn't need to happen that way. But I guess that is the thing nowadays, still dislike it. And then, yeah, I had a little grieving with, there was like this whole thing about going to the footy in Melbourne. And like, even though they went for Geelong or something, I don't know. And it was just like, why wouldn't they go to the footy in Geelong? I don't know. It just really like, it just annoyed me. Like it got it. Yeah, I think especially with the timeline with the footy, because it would have been like when Geelong were doing really well. And I think it was more the fact that she almost grounded it too much in reality to make something that didn't fit in the reality of the location that she chose for the book to be in. So, yeah, it was just like, okay, but like if they were going to like travel to go to the footy every week, they would go in Geelong. And like it was a time when like Geelong were doing well and stuff like that. So yeah, it just would have made more sense. I have a thing here about the audiobook reader. I don't remember her, and that generally means they're not like the greatest. I think it was just like, yeah, I have a note here of like, did see a note about the audiobook reader, and yeah, wasn't that great of one. They were quite bland for a romance book. And yeah, I feel like I think if the audiobook reader is great, then they're memorable. And this one wasn't that memorable. And I do remember the book, but I think I liked it. Just not the cover. I think it's more of a little bit of a surprise read. Like, I didn't expect it to be more general fiction than romance. So yeah. But still, a very easy read. Finn and Sweeney have good chemistry. And, like, I could see them, them being together. And then even, like, the mums and their shenanigans, or, like, the town as well. Like, that was fun. Yeah. The fun, easy read with, like, a little bit of depth, which I think adds to it. Makes it a bit unique. But, yeah. That was Engaged, apparently, by Amy Andrews. I nearly said Adams again. Anyway. Bye.